For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today joining me from Newsmax is relentless Bill Robinson. How you doing this morning, Bill?
Good morning, Michael. I'm great. May the peace of God that passes all understanding be with you.
Yeah, well, I think they need some of that peace over in Ukraine right now because they seem to be on a suicidal rampage. But yeah, we got a lot to discuss. That's definitely the first item in the stack, though, this morning. But yeah, I guess we might as well just jump right into it. Whoops. Ukraine strikes Kerch Bridge in crimes with underwater... in Crimea, sorry. My screen's tiny. With underwater explosives. So this is on the heels of them attacking Russia's bomber fleet with drones yesterday. I guess we might as well just go ahead and pull this next headline here, too, because former CIA analyst says 100% sure CIA had some involvement in massive Ukrainian drone strike on Russian airfields. And this is something we kind of touched on yesterday. But, you know, again... Ukraine obviously did not have this capability on their own. Whether this is, again, because of munitions and intel that we gave them or not, Russia sees us in NATO as the only reason Ukraine is continuing to do this. They sabotaged the peace, the conference yesterday to try to establish peace and end the war. Essentially, Zelensky walked in and boasted about hitting Russia the day before, so the conference fell apart within an hour. I mean, they really do appear to want to get all of the world tied up in World War III, and it'll start right there in Ukraine.
Yeah, remember, this little scab is the same guy who was some kind of weird comedian playing the piano with his penis and snorting coke all day long.
Yeah.
I don't know where he comes off. He actually thinks that Ukraine is going to have some support from, I don't know, MERS or Merz in Germany. It reminds me of Fred Merz from I Love Lucy, this guy. There's practically no help for Ukraine from Germany. Their economy's in a free fall. So if he's now looking to Europe, he better just, and I know Trump's just getting ready to back out. He did the very best he could. If the CIA is helping them, supplying drones and supplying coordinates of their Russian bombers and stuff for this most recent attack, then they're doing so without President Trump's knowledge. Again, we get back to the deep state, the CIA, John Brennan, Clapper, all these mouth-breathing idiots, and they're really, they're classical neocon warmongers like John Bolton, and they just want to start a war. Bolton's focused on starting a war with Iran, which would not be good. And these people are focused on heightening the Russian-U.S. proxy war.
Yeah.
And Trump's trying to solve it all. He says he wants to stop the killing. So Zelensky doesn't have any cards, if you want to use that metaphor, or doesn't know what he's doing, or it's just he's going to get slaughtered. I think there is a midway point between all-out worldwide nuclear World War III, and I think that is that Trump, if he sees us heading south, he'll back off, he'll withdraw from NATO, he'll say, "Look, you guys don't listen to what the U.S. says. We're taking all our money out, 22%, just like the UN, whatever it is," and back out and just let. I mean, it's a horrible thing to say, and it's totally counter to what the left's saying today, which I like doing. But there's a good possibility, I think, in my mind, that Putin could just go to work on the Ukraine and just nuke a couple of major cities, and then the war will be over. Because I can't see Poland or NATO or Germany or France or anybody else going in there once that's happened. And certainly Trump will back out and be talking to Putin about it and say, well, if you're going to do this, we're out. And so, I think Zelensky is just over the top, off his rocker. He's like a young Joe Biden. And there's something weird going on where he thinks he can beat Russia when nobody's ever beaten Russia. It's just they got to stop with this, Ukraine. He should come into. This is why Trump softened him up with body blows during the White House visit. So, it's just a very scary situation, and we got to do a lot of prayer and trust in Trump on this one.
Yeah, at the very least, they seem to be tempting fate. This doesn't seem like a good move and strategy. But if the CIA was involved in this, especially if it was without Trump's permission, I mean, I really think this is the kind of thing that rises to the level of treason. That if they were continuing to supply them the information or access or whatever else, or if these were our drones, which that's kind of what we're hearing, that they were using, I thought a lot of these things were, they could only activate and use them with our permission, that these things were geo-fenced, that they, I assume, had permission to use them within their own borders, but they were using them for strikes in other countries, that someone on our end had to unlock that. Now, maybe that's bad information that we were given, but I know like a lot of the other missiles and other armaments, they require activation codes that we have to authorize before they can be used, before targets can be set up within them. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think one of the first questions, if this doesn't stop and starts to get worse and worse between Russia and Ukraine, I think Trump's going to start keeping in very close touch with Putin. I think one of the first questions Putin's going to ask him when the next time he speaks to him is, did you send the CIA? And Trump will be like, no, I didn't do any such thing. I didn't know what they were doing. And Putin will say, well, are you losing control of your government? And he'll say, no, I'm not. This is the deep state working against me. And I'm going to have Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe fire everybody over there who was involved. Those people are guilty of treason. You're quite right. And you can't just go around executing your own military orders without the president of the United States, especially something like this. It looks so bad for America. And, we've got to I heard the other day on the news, somebody saying we're still giving money to Ukraine. What? Trump said that would stop.
Well,
no money for Ukraine.
I think he reauthorized a small amount that was supposed to go towards aid, basically food and medical supplies. But again, money's fungible, so who knows what they're spending it on. But yeah, I know that he had at one point stopped the arms shipments, but it is something we need to look into to make sure it wasn't reauthorized quietly, or because it could have also been, some of this could have been reauthorized quietly when negotiations were going better before, Zelensky started really sabotaging everything. Because at this point, I really feel like Trump totally doesn't have an option other than walking away and leaving Ukraine to their fate. That we can't stay a part of this, especially as he continues to escalate things clearly. Because these aren't defensive actions. I think both sides, Russia and the United States, are willing to accept certain levels of defensive actions from the Ukrainian military, especially as the story a week ago was Russia was essentially trying to harden, create a buffer zone and then harden their defenses along certain lines, and then Zelensky started attacking again, and so Russia did as well. I just don't see a positive outcome from Ukraine. I think they're only making things far worse for themselves. And with Starmer and Macron's desire to get involved there at some point, and again, they don't have the muscle, the might, or the armament to do this. It's only going to lead to the deaths of more Ukrainians and more Russians in the battlefield. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know what Zelensky's thinking at this point. Like, we can't be party to it anymore.
Well, I'm hoping that President Trump can tell Vladimir Putin, those weren't our drones. Those were French drones, or those were British drones. And the second question Putin's going to ask Trump is, did you share intelligence about the locations of our bombers with Vladimir Zelensky in Ukraine? And I'm hoping Trump will say, absolutely not. I did not do that. And what's more, I have proof that it came from the Brits or from the French or from the Germans. Those are the people who are now taking over the proxy war. And I think if this thing is not solvable, we're all praying it's solvable, because, and I don't know where the Ukrainians, we're seeing no man on the street interviews. We're really not catching up on any of the vans cruising around, picking up young boys and picking up old men and taking them to the front. We're really not aware of all that. We're just kind of being gaslighted into believing this is some kind of war, so we'll keep our Ukrainian flags on our X accounts. But it's got to stop, and I think President Trump is extricating himself from this, and I hope he is. I hope and pray he is, because he knows. He told Zelensky in the White House, "You're playing with fire, and you're going to start a third world war." So he's on top of this. He understands the implications of this, and I think he's doing everything that he needs to do to keep America safe first and foremost. If it's to walk away from Ukraine and let Russia have their way with them, well, that's Zelensky's fault. That's not Trump's.
Yeah, bingo. Yeah, well, we're probably not seeing the man on the street interviews because they've all been kidnapped and moved to the front lines to be sacrificed in Zelensky's war. But the other real concern, we saw this all over the place yesterday. I probably should have pulled one of the headlines, but there really is a possibility with this strike on Russia's nuclear arsenal, Gesundheit, that there is a possibility that they do use tactical nuclear weapons. And I saw one person yesterday floating the idea that they may just level a major city within Ukraine's border, maybe not Kiev, but pick another city and just wipe it out.
Certainly not Kiev, but perhaps Kharkiv or something like that, one of the second or third cities. And I got to say, I mean, look, I'm no fan of Putin. I think he's shown a lot of restraint here. They've only been using really a land war against the Ukrainians. They've really been only using tanks and soldiers. And that shows from the very beginning, that shows a lot of restraint. Yes, there have been some missiles, but Kiev, their capital, remains largely intact. And so much so that, up until recently, they were showing everybody out partying every night, like nothing's going on in the rest of their country. So Ukraine is really starting more and more to be on the wrong side of this equation. And I think, absolutely, after this bridge being blown up by underwater demolition teams, so they must have sent people across the border, special ops, Ukrainian special ops, hopefully not our special ops, to plant these charges on the bridge and bring it down. They have to be synchronized to bring the whole bridge down. And it's just Putin is undoubtedly hopping mad. I'm surprised he hasn't responded already, but he's showing a lot of patience. And I think Trump is probably saying, "Look, Vladimir, don't do anything yet. Don't do anything serious. Let's try. I'm going to try to rein Zelensky in." And if Trump hasn't pulled back all the money yet, he needs to do so immediately. And start clawing back the money. Where is the money we gave you? Where's the $350 billion Biden snuck out of our treasury to you? And really just start putting the screws to him. Yeah. And so there you have it.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. This can't be allowed to go forward, not with us being party to it. All funding has to end. And at this point, I mean, Zelensky would be very lucky if Trump wanted to remain involved and continue to argue for peace in the region, because at this point, I kind of feel like they've sealed their own fate. There's certainly going to be a massive response from Russia, and I think they just added the cherry on top to whatever that was going to be with attacking this bridge.
It's a shame for the Ukrainian people. It really is. I mean, it's just the Ukrainian people are the ones that we all send our prayers and love to. But the leaders involved in this are just extraordinarily bad people. And more, I think we're seeing Zelensky turn out to be the worst. Yeah,
it really is at this point. And, I keep saying, I don't know what else we do. We can't stay party to this. And I don't want World War III to kick off like a lot of these warmongers in Europe appear to want. I feel like somebody's got to be whispering in his ear saying, we'll be able to get you that support back, or it's going to come from Europe. I mean, think about it. Like back in December, Zelensky appeared to be ready to come to the table. Maybe not quite in the way we wanted, but I thought that we would get some level of peace relatively early in the Trump administration. At the very least, we would get a ceasefire, and they would come to the negotiating table, and maybe it would take a while to get them to reach an agreement, but at the very least, we would have had things cool off. And instead, now we're seeing pretty much the exact opposite. Things are heating up, and it is entirely Zelensky, turning up the burner on that gas stove.
Well, if all I can do is pray and hope. I think there's an outside possibility. Trump's always full of surprises. Nobody ever knows what he's thinking, and we can only guess. But I think he's thinking at this point, wouldn't it be a tremendous coup for him and his international policy if he can pull a rabbit out of the hat and solve this thing at the last minute? So I'm hoping and praying that occurs, because we haven't really seen everything Trump can do. We've been amazed at all the things he's done, but I think he's capable of a lot more. And I think this is one of the things that he really believes in, and he really wants to stop the killing. I've never heard any world leader say those kinds of things before, not even Winston Churchill.
Yeah, agreed. All right, guys, we got to take a quick break here from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with more.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day, and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
Life can be pretty unpredictable, filled with good days and not so good days. And sometimes, the only difference between the two is your level of preparedness. The Jace case lets you be better prepared for whatever comes your way. It contains antibiotics and other prescription medications so that you aren't caught unprepared. With the Jace case, you are able to get your prescription medication before the unpredictable happens, allowing you to turn those not so good days into great ones. Go to jace.com now and get your own Jace case.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs here on X American News is by supporting our sponsors. Really want to strongly encourage you guys to go to jace.com or jacemedical.com, use code INSURRECTION, and pick yourself up a Jace case. There's one of those things, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, especially right now while we're looking at potential drug shortages due to the ongoing trade conflict with China and the fact that most of our drugs are made now instead of here on U.S. soil. Especially in times where we could have China moving on Taiwan, the whole world's in chaos. Ukraine's trying to start World War III. And in the time of crisis, whether that's caused by, the end of the world, an asteroid, hurricanes, earthquakes, you name it. It's better to have medications on hand for when you and your family need them. Jace also offers a variety of other specialized kits for everything from urinary tract infections to allergic reactions to medication kits for kids. This Jace case offers a number of real prescription drugs, antibiotics, non-narcotic pain relievers. But if you do have an allergy to something in the kit, they have substitutions they can throw in there. They also offer large supplies if you're on medication that you need to take every day, whether that's like insulin or heart medication, whatnot. That they can get you a 3-month to 1-year supply. So please, again, go to Jace Medical or jace.com. Pick yourself up a Jace case. Use code INSURRECTION. And if they have running any other promotions, which I'm sorry, I forgot to check. They were running one where you could add ivermectin to your kit for just $1. But those will apply to you in addition to the discount you get from using code INSURRECTION. Again, Jace Medical or jace.com. Go there today. Well, let's shift gears a little bit from Ukraine to back here on the home front. Trump slams Biden's open door policy for allowing Boulder terror attack suspect into the country. As we learned yesterday, this guy was a visa overstay. It was apparently been planned this event for over a year. And again, Biden's open border policy and refusal to enforce is what allowed this attack to happen. And there needs to be some level of accountability. We can't let people forget about this. The media is already upset that Trump even had the audacity to bring that up, but it's the truth. This would not have happened if we were just enforcing our immigration laws. Same with all the other deaths that have occurred, whether it's from car accidents, murders, homicides, the fentanyl, everything else that we're seeing today. None of this would be happening right now if Biden had just done his job as president and secured the border.
Yeah, so this is something we can get a lot closer to smiling about, even though it's a very serious issue on its own. At least it doesn't involve a global thermonuclear war.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure it did many times during Biden's semi-conscious administration.
Yeah.
So of course, this is like the red cap. Trump was right about everything.
Yeah.
We knew back in 2015 when he started talking about all the rapists coming in from Mexico and everything that he was right. And we just knew it intuitively. And so we cannot let this man, this poor, demented sap of a man, Biden, be protected or escape accountability for what he's done or not done. Mostly not done in terms of governing the country as the president of the United States. They're already trying to shield him and develop sympathy for him. Oh, he's got cancer and it's stage 4. It came out of nowhere. No, it doesn't come out of nowhere. And he's had it for years. And they were going to use that against him if he wouldn't leave, and he wouldn't leave. And then they finally got rid of him after the debate. So they don't even like him. Even the Democrats don't like him. And this whole idea before the 2020 election, when he was running, he was always like an elder statesman. He knows more world leaders than President Trump does. Oh, sure. No, he's always been a laughing stock of the Senate. He's always been somebody that people look at and scratch their heads and wonder, how the heck did he get where he is? And so, it's like even more than Fetterman. I mean, Fetterman, we can at least cut a little slack because occasionally he makes some good common sense, but Biden never makes any common sense. And then, like every Democrat, he lines up on the absolute wrong side of every issue. So this is why we can just watch and kind of admire and snicker about the slide of the Democrats. They don't want him coming back into the public eye. They were all shocked when he came out and made his first appearance at a Memorial Day event 4 days after Memorial Day in Delaware. That's the way they do things in Delaware, by the way.
That's hilarious. So, good Lord.
Yeah, just too much.
Well, you're exactly right. The Democrat Party, this guy was never a hero or an icon. He wasn't somebody that they had lifted up previously. They knew this guy was a plagiarist and a liar. They knew exactly what he was, that he was corrupt, and they knew all this insider dealing with his family. I'm sure they knew about that well in advance. But yeah, you're right. There was desperation. Now, the only reason they put Biden on the ticket back in 2020 was they knew the Hildebeest couldn't win, that she would just get her ass handed to her again, and they didn't have any other viable candidates. Michelle Obama, Big Mike, has said it doesn't want to run, and that's a good possibility. I'm starting to actually believe that one, that really doesn't want to be on the main stage again, would rather enjoy their money. And frankly, I don't blame her for that. If I had $1 gazillion I'd looted and could run off in the sunset with, I'd probably do the same. But it's they have no future. And this, again, can be squarely laid at their feet. They are the only ones to blame because, during Trump's first term, the border was largely shut down. Yes, we still had some people coming over it. Congress stopped us from putting a wall up and implementing real border security. But even prior to Biden taking office, the message was sent that the time for the invasion's now. The NGOs all went to work and they started a little pipeline moving people in. I heard an interesting statistic this morning from The Blaze, from Glenn Beck, that out of all these invaders that came through, 2 million people, they suspect, paid extra to not go through the channels, to not turn themselves into ICE, to sneak across in other places and then infiltrate our country. And these are the ones we've really got to be concerned about. We know 180 plus got in that had direct ties to terrorism. We don't know how many Chinese military-aged men came in this way, or others, because a lot of them, again, were skipping the checkpoints. They didn't want all the free cash the Biden regime was handing out. Instead, they wanted to get in, get themselves in place, and that's why we've got to really be concerned about that and how many more attacks like this are coming in the future.
Well, yeah, and that highlights the importance of people like Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. They've got their hands full, so they have to have really solid FBI agents. I'm not convinced that we have solid FBI agents anymore. I think that they got rid of the good America-loving, flag-waving patriots who were FBI agents during the previous 4 years, and that puts President Trump and all the people that work for him in law enforcement in a very, very bad position. But we really need some FBI agents who love this country and who are going to go out there and find these people, because we just can't have them continue to be involved in chasing down grandmas who are singing hymns in front of abortion clinics. And all the other ridiculous things they were doing. I'm just waiting for reports that that's still happening so that we can jump on Bongino and Patel about it, because I dearly hope that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I would hope not, and I would think that they would have been smart enough to clamp down on already. But I also wouldn't be surprised to find out there was some rogue unit operating within there that suddenly goes and arrests somebody again. Again, not that the DOJ wouldn't just throw it out this time, but it would still look terrible, and it'd be a good way, again, to sabotage their efforts. Well, CNN calls the FBI juvenile for calling the border terror attack a terror attack. Again, this should have been blatantly obvious from minute one, but the fact that, again, this is yet another leftist extremist on their side committed to violence. So CNN's big mad. They called it exactly what it is. I'm going to go ahead and pull this next headline too, because once again, I hope this guy's got good security. Otherwise, somebody at CNN is going to kill Scott Jennings one of these days. CNN, Scott Jennings, the Free Palestine movement is a domestic terror organization. He's exactly right. I mean, that's the point of them overtaking these college campuses, holding their little protests where they try to hold cities hostage while they, violently riot. Or direct terrorist attacks like this one that just happened in Boulder, Colorado, or what happened recently in D.C. These are all parts of the same animal, and that thing is deeply entwined with the Democrat Party at this point.
Well, I have a slightly different take about Scott Jennings. I agree with you from the viewers of CNN, the sick and twisted people who turn there first. I think, he's in a lot of danger. But I think internally at CNN, I think they realize he's the only thing that's keeping their 87,000 viewers during this show's hour watching. It's just he's the golden boy of CNN. And don't forget, CNN is a communist pedophile organization. Don't forget all the arrests of pedophiles at CNN a couple of years back. Let's not forget that. So when Bill Robinson says it's a communist pedophile organization, the communist part requires no substantiation at all. But the pedophile claim might. Just search the news reports for CNN producers and staff arrested for pedophilia, and you'll get a good sense as to what kind of organization what kind of people this organization typically employs. Scott Jennings is an outlier. They're just lucky they had him there, and they're lucky he's got the internal fortitude to stay with them when he's surrounded by a bunch of reverse racists, angry lesbians, and real harpies who are just constantly contradicting and interrupting him at every moment. They're not helping their cause, though, because they obviously have nothing to say or interrupt with. They're just doing it for the sake of interrupting the man. That's a tough character kind of situation to be in. I don't know how much longer he'll be able to take that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm sure. Because, it's basically him and Harry Enton. We're going to cover another story from him here shortly. that are over there dropping the truth bombs on CNN. You know, we used to call them random acts of journalism, but I think both of theirs are intentional. It's the other people at CNN that are performing the random acts of journalism every once in a while when they have an accurate opinion or get something right over at CNN. But yeah, I mean, there's another story where, again, we're not even going to have time to cover it. This is just from just a few days ago about how the rating collapse at CNN, MSNBC, NBC continues. That they've just totally lost touch with their audience. What was it? Larry O'Donnell, their 5 p.m. hour at MSNBC now is down to 9,000 viewers in the key demo, which is insane. Like you're not even cracking 10,000 viewers that are under the age of 55. This kind of network can't go forward like that. I mean, I guess they'll be able to run a lot of ads for Metamucil and Ben Gay and target in on the audience they do have, but the youth have completely left. It's basically like older people that are still glued to cable television and don't understand the internet, coma patients at the hospital, and people trapped at the airport. Those are the only people watching the mainstream media now, and they know it. That's part of why they're losing grasp on the middle. I think they, like I've said over and over again, the middle left these networks during the last election, and they're not coming back. They know they're not trustworthy. They found good alternative sources now. That's why we've also seen the rightward shift throughout all demographics in the country, is people have realized that they were being lied to and manipulated for decades, and that this wasn't something that happened by accident. This was the intention of these networks and their handlers at the CIA.
Well, yeah, and I cannot overstate the importance of President Trump's cultural strategy here. Pardon me. He came in with the idea of, cleaning up rap music, cleaning up Hollywood movies and news. And he's done so much with Hollywood. He's putting tariffs on movies made abroad. That means we can control more what's put on the screen here in the US. And so they can avoid tariffs. These are greedy people, so they want to avoid paying any kind of money that they can. But when it's the option is to bring it in through China and get taxed at 50%, obviously they're going to make it here, where we can control a little bit more what our children see. And on the news and academics, he's going after Harvard quite fast. And Bill Maher was quoted as saying Harvard's an asshole factory, and he's of course 100% right. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So Maher is he's still sitting on the fence after his dinner with Kid Rock and Trump and Dana White, but I think he's moving ever more slowly over towards the Trump side, and he's quite right about Harvard, because who can tolerate these insufferable Harvard graduates? As Maher said, they're always trying to insert a story about a friend who is Harvard so they can claim intellectual superiority over everybody else.
Yes.
They're nothing of the sort. They're not superior in any way. So Trump's really executing on a grand design, a grand plan to radically re-energize and shift our culture back to some sanity and common sense. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. It really is.
Yeah, and I think that we're starting to see some real results yield from this too, because it is also, we pointed out in here a couple times that this culture is starting to infiltrate things that were more neutral, I guess. Like Asmongold's the example I've used a few times. This guy's a streamer, has just massive audiences on Twitch and on YouTube. I think he's the second largest streamer now that's still on Twitch, under known terrorist sympathizer Hassan Piker. So that's certainly helping him, and the willingness to speak out, because it's not just him, it's a lot of others now too, as they see this just pure evil and insanity on the left, that it's gotten to the point where they're willing to talk about it. Another big result from this is Pride Month is essentially canceled right now, and this is something that, I should have grabbed this. I'll make sure I have this for tomorrow. But Asmongold put up a video the other day that and I think this was on Sunday, that really just put the hammer down on this. No companies are flipping their logos for Pride Month this year. There's not any big effort from Target or even Starbucks to do something. We saw there were stories we didn't get to yesterday about how the Pride parades were canceled in several places because either nobody showed up, they couldn't get any funding, or there was actual public backlash against it. This is a huge step in winning the culture war. And And those are the kind of stories, again, if our media had any level of honesty, they would cover it instead of covering it as a negative thing. This is the reality. This is where things are on the ground. I think, Trump's victory showed a lot of people that the terrorism of the left, the cancel culture and everything else, that was coming to an end. And these are some of the results of that. Now people can more freely speak their mind. They don't have to feel like they have to go along with this nonsense, or they're going to get canceled or castigated or whatever else. I saw a great joke headline, but I want to check and see if this is actually true, that the only people that were celebrating Pride Month with Saudi Arabia, they're going to use rainbow colored nooses when they hang the gays this year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's radical, but also sensible. I think so. I'm that's another part of the cultural revolution that Trump has spawned, is the fight back against the LGBT insanity, which of course has inflicted us with men and women's sports and the general mutilation of our young children. First, the indoctrination, the dirty books, the furries as a militia force in our public schools.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing is a diabolical conspiracy to harm our children. And wouldn't it be nice if these drag queen shows and LGBT parades, where they're violating every moral code America has ever stood for, are addressed like January 6th was? Let's send in riot police and start locking these people up and hold them without a trial. Because if you hold one group of people without a trial, but not another, that's not due process. So if there are going to be instances where you can hold people without a trial for 4 years or more, then it needs to be equally applied. And so some people would say, well, you don't do that, Bill, because that's what they did to us. No, this is how serious we're getting, right? We're not turning the other cheek anymore. So, it's not cool if you're gay or lesbian or transgender, whatever the heck you are, whatever the mental problem is, go be happy somewhere, right? Just stay out of people's faces. You start exposing yourself in front of small children on Main Street, forget it. No, you're in jail. We'll try you when we want to. You want a plea deal? Okay, we'll have to work on that for a couple of years, and then we'll see if we can get you a trial. Just like they did the J6s. Yep.
Yeah. That's what I've said for a long time, is it's time to bring the hammer down. We can't keep being the nice guy. The time for that was over years ago. It's just these weak rhinos never got the memo, or, intentionally sabotage that too. Guys, we got to take one more quick break here from our sponsors, and we'll be right back to wrap things up.
Well, hello everybody. It's Lady Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure for this, I hope I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Thank you for staying with us. And again, the best way to support our program and all the programs here on Ex American News is by supporting our sponsors. Please go to lutfstudio.com right now. Go get yourself a unique, one-of-a-kind, handmade piece of art from Annie Cyrus. She takes custom orders. If you're interested in that, you can email her, and she'll get back to you with a price and delivery date. I want to encourage you guys to check out her Substack. I'll make sure tomorrow that I get a link out there. We'll get it tweeted out from the Ex American News account too. She's done a lot of great work on Substack, and I know she's got an article coming out, if not now, soon, regarding the Islamization of Europe and what we just saw happen in France over the weekend. So please go to lutfstudio.com right now and help support Annie and all the hard work she does to make a lot of these programs possible. Well, I'm going to shift gears a little bit here again, and we're going to cover one other story. Top national security officials around the world know we're living on borrowed time due to major 2027 event. And I'll be honest, I don't think there's anything to this story. I saw this start popping up a few days ago. Originally, it was some clip of Jeremy Corbell that resurfaced that to me just looks like an obvious I don't know, way to build hype for a documentary or a miniseries. I guess he was in a little while back, and then this resurfaced at the same time. I think it's Russ Coulthart from News Nation made a statement, and again, like he said, he's heard that there's going to be events coming in a variety of different years. He didn't say, definitely he's hearing that there's going to be some kind of event, false flag or otherwise, in 2027. But I don't think there's anything to this story. What are your thoughts, Bill?
Yeah. So just to explain my feelings about outer space and alien life forms, I learned a lot about astronomy and space and the infiniteness of space from my dad, and I came to the conclusion as the years have gone on and I've grown up that there's almost no chance that there's other intelligent life forms out there, given the extreme size of the universe. It's almost inconceivable that there's not a planet like ours, or multiple planets, or dozens, or thousands, or whatever. So I think that probably as time goes on, that will be proved, and they may even be engaging with us. I don't like this idea of like the town crier, doomsday is coming, doomsday is coming. People have been doing that, including Al Gore, who's the ultimate, I invented this information superhighway town crier guy, who, by 2005, Miami will be underwater, all this kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
So I don't like the predictions that are years away. And this guy, he says it's coming in 2027. That should be enough. He should say, okay, it's coming in 2027. Thank you very much. Good night. But no, he says now 2034, perhaps. He's heard about that too. I don't know where he's hearing these things, but anybody that specifies a certain year where this might happen, it's like this typical left, communist, Democrat, socialist, whatever you want to call it, kind of warped mindset that says if we got to scare people into buying our ideas and our positions on the issues. So, the sky is falling, but we're all going to be dead in 5 years from the environment, climate change, global warming, global cooling, whatever it is now. They use this to support, they use these scare tactics and this fear mongering a la COVID.
Yeah.
To scare us into giving up our principles and sacrifice our character on freedom and what the important parts of freedom are. So no, I'm not buying it, but here's my bottom line on it. So I think that of that intelligent life out there, that they probably have good intentions. Now, if I'm wrong and they're evil superior life forms out there, it really doesn't matter because they can just blow us up with one button or even less. Yeah. So I prefer to think of it in a more optimistic way. I'm a supreme optimist. So I think that this is going to work out and that they'll leave us alone. And I hope I'm right.
Yeah. And I guess what Corbell was saying is this is going to be some kind of false flag operation that'll be a giant alien mothership headed towards the planet. And then that's going to be used to, take control of everybody. But, same thing. I just don't see them having the capability to pull something like that off anyway. Or again, we would have heard about it if there was some kind of project by now. There's no way they'd keep things, have the ability to keep things this secret. But yeah, again, I think this is a non-story. And we can discuss the possibility of alien life another time. I want to get to some positive stories before we end the show today. Operation Patriot. ICE arrests 1,500 illegal immigrants across Massachusetts. Again, this is half their goal. So you guys are almost up to the 3,000 a day in deportations that Noam and Homan asked for. But like I said, those are rookie numbers. We need 30,000 a day. We got to clear out this infestation, and we got to do it quick.
Yeah. So it is good news. We got to keep going. We got to amp up our efforts. And, this is nothing new. Trump was talking about it when he came down the golden elevator at Trump Tower, and he's just got to keep it up. I mean, Holman is a force of nature. I love having more than one force of nature in the administration.
Yes.
I think last term, Trump was the only force of nature. And now we've got Holman and Trump. I like the way Kristi Noem's been showing up at CCOT down in El Salvador at the big prison. She was there again with Matt Gaetz the other day. Gaetz did a great thing on OAN, visiting the prison down there and showing the differences between the kinds of prisoners and how they're treated if they cooperate and be nice, or if they act up and cause problems. Then they go to entirely separate part of the prison where they're brought into line. So, I think that I'm hoping there are more and more. Hexeth looks like he has the possibility of being a force of nature. Gnome. I'm still hoping Pam Bondi and Bongino, I think, can do it. My Patel's star is fading on me. He looked like a deer caught in the headlights when he was talking about Butler and Butler. There was one shooter and all this other stuff the other day. I'm cognizant of my references to the fact that he'd been around for 5 minutes before he was appointed director of the FBI. I'm not sure he was ready, but we'll see. I mean, I hope for the best. I plan for the worst, but hope for the best in politics. That's what you got to do.
Pretty much.
I think Sean Duffy's been doing a great job. He could be a force of nature in transportation.
Scott Bessent's done great.
Yeah, Bessent's done a good job. I'm a little surprised in him. I didn't think he would be so forceful, but it's good to see. So I'm really hopeful that Trump's going to get a lot of support, where in his first administration he was kind of left to his own devices a little bit, and possibly even giving instructions that were then being disregarded by his people.
Yes.
So I hope that's not happening here. In the case of those CIA drones, potentially, whether they were CIA or not, or the intelligence used to attack the Russian bombers on behalf of Ukraine. I'm hoping Trump wasn't involved in that. And I think if he wasn't, as soon as he straightens it out with Putin, we'll know about it.
Yes, I think so. Well, who would have thought our media's clueless yet again? But Washington Post is mystified by the drop in fentanyl seizures at the U.S.-Mexican border. I wonder what could have possibly caused there to be less fentanyl at the border and less getting into the country. I mean, what major change happened in the last 4 months that would have caused that? Do you have any insight there?
Yeah, I love the use of the word mystified. It's like flabbergasted, bemused, amused, bewildered. They're bewildered over there at the Washington Post. So they're just confirming what everybody's always known about them. They're a bunch of slack-jawed, stupefied kind of idiots over there who are issued their talking points, who write their articles from press releases given to them by the Democrat Socialists of America and Bernie Sanders, or from AOC's office, or from the Democrat National Senate Committee, or any of the above Democrat Party people. Certainly not David Hogg. That's another great story. Let's get rid of David Hogg, and all of a sudden he's going. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like the Washington Post is just I'm waiting for the day Bezos just says I've had enough of this and dumps it off on some poor unsuspecting buyer.
Yeah, well, that's probably coming soon. But, I think there's even more. They know exactly what's causing this drop of drugs entering the country, and it's President Trump, but they can't possibly give him credit for that. So instead, they've got to pretend they're just bewildered. They don't understand. What was the major change that caused this victory for the United States and our people? But yeah, like you said, at some point it is going to get to where even Bezos and everybody else, they're going to give up, because it's just going to be a financial millstone around their neck, dragging them to the bottom of the sea. We were talking off air, they're still down viewership 90% in clicks, and then in physical papers that are going out. It's even more than that. Dems lose ground to GOP as party of the middle class, according to CNN poll. And actually, let's go ahead and pull these next couple headlines. They're all linked. Rasmussen poll on optimism for the future hits all-time high under President Trump. And CNN shocked by new poll that demolishes Democrats. Just 16% say Dems have strong leaders. We'll get to that one in a second. But I got a video here of the other hero over at CNN, Scott Enton. Let me go ahead and just play this for you guys, and then we'll respond to all of it.
After all of the waves, Kate Baldwin, after the last few months, the first 5 months of the Donald Trump presidency, right, the first 4 months of the Donald Trump presidency, that you expect that Democrats would have this massive lead on the economy. It ain't so. It ain't so. The party that is closest to your economic views, in November of 2023, it was the Republicans by 11 points. Now it's still within that range, still within that margin of error. Plus 8-point advantage for the Republican Party. How is that possible, Democrats? How is that possible after all the recession fears, after the stock market's been doing all of this, after all the tariffs that Americans are against, and Republicans still hold an 8-point lead on the economy? Are you kidding me? If it was just this one CNN poll, that would be one thing. But take a look at Reuters Ipsos. What do we see here? Party with a better economic plan. Well, in May of 2024, just before Donald Trump was reelected president, Republicans had a 9-point advantage. Look at where we are now in May of 2025. The advantage actually went up by 3 points. Now Republicans have a 12-point advantage when it comes to the party with a better economic plan. And again, this is after months of supposed economic uncertainty in which the stock market's been going bonkers, in which the tariff wars that Americans are against have been going on. And yet, despite all of that, the Democrats are down by 12 points on the economy. This speaks to Democratic problems on the economy better than basically anything that you could possibly look at. The Republicans still hold an advantage on the all-important key issue of the day, which is the party of the middle class, has been a huge advantage for Democrats. I have polling from NBC going all the way back since 1989 when Democrats had a 23-point advantage. 2016, a 17-point advantage. But by this decade, we already started seeing declines back in 2022 where you saw that Democrats led, but only by 4 points, well within the margin of error. And now in our latest CNN poll among registered voters, which is the party of the middle class, it is tied. This, I think, speaks to Democratic ills more than anything else. They have traditionally been the party of the middle class. No more. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have taken that mantle away, and now a key advantage for Democrats historically has gone adios amigos, and now there is no party that is the party of the middle class. Republicans have completely closed the gap, Kate.
Wow.
I'm immediately suspicious of Harry Potter. Enton. Does he shave? Is he potty trained? Inquiring minds want to know. He's been on the scene like less than 5 minutes. I didn't see him before the 2024 elections. Now he's coming out with a whole brand new set of Ipsos facto polls and ABC, Washington, Wall Street Journal polls and all these CBS and Quinnipiac polls, all the lying polls that tried to delude us into thinking that Biden actually won the election, or that, it's like ridiculous. So he's coming up. The polls have shifted over to Trump's side because that's the only thing Americans will buy anymore.
Yeah.
And these guys like him and Bill Maher, and I haven't heard Michael Moore do it yet, but look for him to be the next guy who starts talking about how great Trump is when he's hated him his entire life. These guys, they're doing it to save themselves from the self-immolation that they're seeing of all their colleagues around themselves. So I'm not buying any of it. The polls are even better than that guy's saying. It's not the party of the middle class. It's tied. I don't think so. It just doesn't sound right. And the American people are smarter than these boneheads with using their polls and their pull-up charts and touching the screen and, like Bill Hemmer style, right? Like with all the new technology on the screen and everything. Yeah, no, American people are smarter than all of that. We don't need them to highlight little interests of theirs, little things they're trying to push and promote. We don't need them, and we don't acknowledge them as existing in the real world.
Well, I just agree a little bit. I think Enton's been pretty consistent since they brought him on and got rid of 538, that he's been sort of trying to drop some little truth bombs here and there to CNN's anchors, because what he says, there's so many great videos of them doing a segment beforehand and then him just shooting holes in it afterwards, bringing up these current polls. And yeah, I do agree. I think these are still shifted to favor Democrats, but the fact that even like CNN's not making a major effort to cover it up and to shift the polls too far, that this, he's kind of kept them on track there. And I think he's also looking into this data and, pointing out the obvious, like you said. Like I don't believe for a minute that there's a tie on who supports the middle class right now, especially when you consider the rest of the economic data and wherever, and when you look at other polling on like right track, wrong track. But the fact that they've got him in there spoiling a lot of their stories, I think is something else that greatly benefits us on the right.
Well, you're always filled with interesting factoids, Michael. I did not know that he replaced Nate Silver in 538. Of course, Silver constantly disgraced with every new election, always rehabilitated shortly thereafter, and then used for the next 2 to 4 years to harm Christian conservative candidates. So I'm glad this guy replaced him. However, it's still not good enough. Until the lamestream media stops lying to the American public, their downfall is all but assured. We're seeing it. The one thing I'm really looking for is it started to happen with Rachel Madcow and Joyless Reed. They both got Joy Reed's show got canceled, but before that happened, they both experienced some pretty sizable diminishment of their pay. And imagine what's going to happen when Whoopi, who we all know loves her money and will do anything for her money, starts getting pay cuts. And some of those, and Anna Navarro, who's a La Raza spouting America hating Trump hater. Once that whole economic downturn starts happening, we're going to watch these shows just vanish. And then what will they do? It'll be all Trump all the time.
Yeah, well, I imagine that's coming soon. We'll get one last piece of good news in here before we wrap up. Disney to lay off hundreds of finance, film, and TV employees, report. Well, I think they're going to be laying off park employees here soon, too. There's a story going around this morning about how the parks look empty right now, and this is getting into their busy season. And just out of a strange coincidence, on Saturday, I talked to a friend of mine. I used to live right by Walt Disney World in Florida. Talked to a friend of mine that's still down there, that he took his family up there on Saturday to ride the roller coasters, because at the end of the day, they do have great roller coasters at the park, and you can get in for free. Everybody down there knows somebody that works for the park, so they always get in for free. But anyway, yeah, he said he just couldn't believe it, that the place was basically empty, expected to be packed. I mean, literally this time of year when I still lived down there, as people are getting out of schools, they would have 1 million people in the 5 parks every single day. And the fact that it's down 75% or more tells us we are winning the culture war.
Well, if you can keep his picture up there, I think it's Bob Iger. I mean, look, you can tell a lot just from looking at these people, this drooling simian. This guy, you wouldn't want him to pet your dog. You certainly wouldn't hand him your baby. So just take a good look at him. Let it really sink in what kind of man this is. And he was trying to control our country through the use of manipulation of our children's minds. And so, I'm glad that let's just crater the whole Walt Disney World, Europe, Japan, Southern California, and Florida. The whole thing can just crater as far as I'm concerned. I'm not happy with these people. I give them no quarter. There's no sympathy. No, this is their comeuppance. And let's see how long Bob Iger is smiling in a greedy way, because, I can't help but think God is giving them their comeuppance. When you try to hurt children, you end up with a millstone around your neck and drop to the depths of the ocean. So that's Bob Iger for you.
Yeah. Well, we keep hearing about this effort to revitalize their reputation, to get away from all the LGBTQ nonsense, but we're not seeing it on the ground. They continue to insert this stuff into new films, whatever. Maybe they've toned it down and cut back a little bit, but I don't think that's enough to rehab their reputation. I think they really are done for. They've gotten so far away from their original mission and what they were put together for. They don't make quality children's entertainment. It's really just about programming your kids to their perverted viewpoint nowadays. And I think they'll probably continue to collapse financially because of it. I don't know if there's enough to save them at this point.
Well, I'm just hoping that this is part of the whole cultural shift. Because you can imagine, people would say, Bill, you can't just let the whole Disney empire collapse. Why not? We almost let the banks collapse, except for Obama was talking about too big to fail and started giving them $40 billion each of taxpayer money. No, let's let them collapse. And then people can either go to the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C., or the Ark in Tennessee, I think it is. And a lot of other more wholesome places to go and have rides, because rides are the big attraction, but have rides will pop up. Like, for instance, if Disney disappears, maybe Knott's Berry Farm can stay in LA, but if Disney disappears, then what happens? Well, these other tourist opportunities with biblical and gospel basis are going to increase a rapid surge in visits and tourism money, and hopefully build rides themselves. I can also see a point where, like Disney, a studio like Angel Studios, if they keep going, I could see them building some amusement parks that are all about family, faith, and freedom. And that's their thing. That's what we need. Disney's never been, perhaps in old Walt Disney's eyes, it was about America and faith and freedom. But I think even then, probably Walt Disney missed the faith and freedom part. It was all about families.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you had gone back to that mission originally, what they used to be, that's clearly a different place than they were now. But yeah, I think it would be better to have somebody that embraces all of it. But at the same time, there's already alternatives to Disney. There are other theme parks around the country that aren't into all this perversion. Maybe they'll be elevated. I think there's a good opportunity, like you said, for a company like Angel Studios to get in, maybe set up their own theme parks. But at the end of the day, I think this is, again, it just shows the cultural shift that people have had it with this nonsense. They're finally willing to stand up, put their foot down now that we have real leadership that's saying what everybody's thinking. Guys, unfortunately, we are out of time for the day. Actually, a little bit over. But I want to thank you again for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. And we'll be back tomorrow with even more. Thanks again, guys.